Okay. Number six. No.
Good morning, everyone. We only have four of you on the call. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Good morning, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, fine. So we'll just give them some few more minutes as usual before we commence. Yeah, I think we can start. We are 5 minutes in. Good morning once again. We have about 18 of you, so 19 of you now online. We will start the session. So today, basically, what I want to do, I've gone through my, content that I wanted to cover for this program. Unfortunately, we have not even done 30% of it. And now that you have exams, we'll not need to, worry ourselves, start going through and rushing through anything. I've provided some materials that can be of help for the future for you in terms of reference. So what I intend doing today is to, just do a review, ask you questions, listen to your questions if you have any, talk generally about FM, the FM industry, the challenges you may likely face, the way you need to work. Then we talk about the exam, what's the exam, mode is going to be, what are the things that are likely to be covered in the exam. So I'll start with questions. So I'll start from you. If you have questions, concerns, the topic we're covered or we have not covered, things you think you want to have better understanding on FM, so go ahead. The floor is yours. Just raise your hand for the next 20 minutes or thereabouts. We're going to do that. So raise your hand, ask your questions. I'll try my best to respond. The one I don't have answers to, I would ask you to get back to me. I'll get back to you as the case may be. Okay, so the floor is open. The second part is I'm going to ask questions. So after this first 20 minutes, I would ask questions. My usual random call to ask questions for another 10, 15 minutes. Then we'll do wrap up. Just talk generally about all the things we've done and the ones we've not done and the industry and your work. Okay, so who wants to start? Tony, you're up.
All right. Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. Sir, I was hoping you can shed more light on something. So if an organization is resuming to a site for to maintain or to manage that site or project, as the facility manager, I was wondering if you can shed more light on the first 5 things for them to consider so that they would have smooth running operations on site.
Okay. FM company trying to open office for their clients. I believe that's the question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I can talk through that while we're waiting for the next time to be up. So first is to understand 3 things. What is the current size of your office? That's the office you manage. What is the maximum capacity you can load the office to? So for instance, if you have a 300-seater office and you're doing a 1-for-1, meaning that 1 free seat for, every free seat occupied, or you're doing 2 for 3, 2 seats for every 2 seats occupied for every 3 seats available. So you can either do a 150 or a 200. The maximum you can load the office is 200. Let's even say 180. So meaning that you already have the maximum number of people who can use the office. The second is to ask the company, what is their resumption plan? Because you cannot determine a plan for them. However, the best practice is for them to consult you before they determine a resumption plan. In case they did not, which in most cases you find in Nigeria, is to ask them what's their resumption plan. Are they doing a ramping resumption, meaning that 50 people will come, the next 70, the next 100, or they want everybody to resume at the same time, or they are not even planning to do a full resumption. They want to do Scala. So you need to understand how they want to resume, because you cannot create a plan for them without having them giving you understand the number of people. If, however, they ask you that, okay, so how do you think we should resume? So that's a different, arrangement. So if they ask you, so let's take the question of, if they ask you, how do we resume? Then there are two options for you to propose. One option is to do hoteling. The hoteling system means that you can still accommodate everybody out of the 300 seats, but not at the same time, meaning that there will be booking. You're going to create a schedule or a platform or a system where you can only have 100 people in the office at every particular time, at every particular day. And those 100 people, there are two options. You want to do full hoteling, meaning that individuals will, just like an hotel, you go online, make a reservation for your room, the hotel is available or not. So you use the same system. Or you do departmental, approach, meaning that Mr. Ose, please, yeah. So meaning that you ask each department to send you a schedule of the people and how they want to resume, and you can, give them a plan, or each department say, okay, we need 3 people to come to office this week. We need 3 people to come to office next week. So they will give you a plan, and and what it means is that you are controlling two things. You are controlling the number of people who come to the office, and you're also controlling how you resource the office to support them. Because today in FM is not, and that's why it's very, very critical for us to understand operations management, budgeting, and cost management, the financial component of FM. Our operations leads to financial component. Because some of the interactions I've had since COVID is that clients believe that this is the best time for them when it comes to cost control. It is not cost cutting. It's cost cutting different from cost control. Cost control means that things you don't need to do, you don't need to do it. You can save money by not doing it. So if people are not in the office, we are not spending money. No diesel, no excess, power consumption. We're not doing full cleaning. We're not doing full facility management. So we're saving a lot of money on overhead. So people are conscious of that. So, and as an FM, you must also be conscious of the fact that, okay, so if you have decided that you're going to have only 100 people out of 300 in the office at every particular time, meaning that you're also conscious of how you're going to resource managing them, which is your third component. So your first component is understand the structure of your office, what's the maximum you can accommodate. Second is to have an engagement with your clients to understand how they want to resume. And if they ask you to make a proposal, then you can propose various options, one of which is hoteling. Second is group resumption per department within the number of people that you want to accommodate, or general resumption, which is only 100 people can come, and you create a schedule with the HR or with each department to say, okay, ABCD people we come on Monday, CDF we come on Tuesday. That way you create a full week plan, and they share with everybody. Everybody knows when they are resuming. For instance, in our company during COVID period, immediately after lockdown, we created a schedule of who resumes on Monday, who resumes on Tuesday, Wednesday, that way, so that we can, fulfill the, the demand for occupancy, change the way our sitting arrangement is, shut down some, tables and chairs, and so it's the same thing you're going to do. So the third is for you to determine resources required to be able to support the number of people that are coming, and having in mind that you're going back to your client to say, okay, yeah, in view of the fact that we cannot accommodate more than 100 out of 300, this is what our current manning structure, this is what the number of people are going to come. MK is going to come on Monday. Toby is going to come on Tuesday to support the team. We're going to have 2 cleaners instead of 5. We're going to, such things. And this is the implication when it comes to, cost. You need to do more cleaning now. So if your cost has not covered, touch point cleaning, or you can even introduce various technologies now that you can introduce to maintain a healthy and safe environment. Apart from the temperature check, your sanitizer, which probably you didn't plan for, at the beginning of the year, you don't know how many is going to resume. So you need to also plan for how many sanitizers are you going to put in place, where they're going to be infrared testers, are they going to be automatic, or are they going to be handheld? So you need to think about all through that as your number 4 item. What resources do you need to, to deploy and how do you want to deploy them? And touch point cleaning, do you want to do physical cleaning, or you want to do automatic? There are systems that are, consumables today that are self-cleaning, items. You put it on lift cover, thing cover, you put it on tables, you put it on handrails, you put it on door handles. Somebody touches it, before the next person touches it, it automatically, disinfects itself. So there are so many things, and these are part of the things you need to put in place to ensure that you are ready for their resumption. The last being that you also need to support the the organization's well-being plan. So you need to find out what are people going to stay in the office fully. Don't forget that one of the things we've not taken, and I'm not sure a lot of you understands that, is that the cooling system within a closed office cannot operate the same way pre-COVID and post-COVID. There are ASHRAE requirements. For those of you who are engineers, we know ASHRAE, the American Society for Cooling and Ventilation and Air Conditioning Engineering, and they've defined, all the requirements in terms of filter, change of filter, the frequency of change of filter, fresh air intake into the building. Despite the fact that it's a closed office, your system is closed and you don't have any fresh air, adequate fresh air, you need to redesign where possible, or you introduce, systems that purifies the air within the office to ensure that every particular time you are doing air quality test, because part of the things you need to be doing is to do air quality tests to check the quality of air that is circulating at every particular time to ensure that employees within a space that is that's conducive. You also do, bacteria tests, on surfaces on a regular basis. So these are the things, the 5 things you need to do. I said first, understand your space. Second, have an engagement with your client. Understand, what they have a plan. If they don't have a plan, create a plan, which is your number 3. Number 4 is create your resources requirement to meet the plan. The 4 is to understand what are the interventions you need to make to ensure a safe and functional work environment. I hope that answers your question today. Yes, next hand up, or any follow-up questions to this. Nobody else is raising hand. So you guys are fine, no questions. Today you are fine with you asked me for 5 points. I've given you the 5 points.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was just wondering, like, the 5 points you mentioned, are they the same thing for, let me just clarify, like, when the FM is assigned, like, to a site, like, maybe a fresh building, or rather
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. If people are resuming today based on the circumstances, we find ourselves the same thing. So you are resuming a new building is the same thing as resuming back to work. So the same principles follow, the same process. Because if it's a new building, you must understand the design, except the new building has been designed with COVID in mind. So if they've designed the building with COVID in mind and they've created, staggered seating arrangements in such a way that social distance has already been incorporated, then you don't need to worry about number 1. So you only need to worry about 2, 3, and 4. And number 1 is that you understand the space. You also need to understand, actually, it's not that you don't worry, but you need to understand that, yes, we're fine. The seating can accommodate everybody because we already created a seating arrangement that, that covers for social distance. So it's the same process.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other hand up? No, nobody has questions. You guys must be fantastic people not to have any worries. I mean, your work are good, so you're fine. So I can start asking my own questions. So, let me go look for OJ. I'll start with OJ. I'll follow up with Bamidele, Adewale, and Salami. So I'm going to ask 4 questions in that order. OJ, Bamidele, Salami, and Adewale. So question 1, you are asked to plan a budget to manage your space. What are the 3 key things to pay attention to? That's question 1. Question 2 is you already have a budget. The This is March of 2020. March of 2020 was when COVID started. And the client, your company or your client says, okay, we're going on shutdown in line with the government directive for the next 3 months. Can you please give us a revised budget? What are the key, things that will change in your budget? That's question 2. Question 3 is, what will change in your O&M when people are resuming back to work? What are the 3 key things that will change in your operation and maintenance plan? You already have a plan, you have a budget, everything is fine. Lockdown went, you've responded to lockdown. The client says, okay, we want to resume back today's 1st of May, so we want to resume back 15th of May. What are the things that will change in your O&M plan? Minimum 3 things that will change. The 4th question is, how do you ensure regulatory compliance during a pandemic? And what are those 3 key regulatory concerns, especially today during COVID? Those are 4 questions. So over to the 4 of you. OJ, you are number 1. Hello? The second person can take it.
Hello? This is Bamidele.
Bamidele, yes, go ahead. Are you taking a question or taking question 1? Go
Yes,
ahead,
sir.
Bamidele.
Or a facility. Yes, sir. We'll come up with a budget which will have to take care of, if we are coming up with a reviewed budget, I believe the budget would have covered a lot of things, like all the diesel and all the other things that the facility will be using. So to come up with a reviewed budget during the lockdown, there are some things that will definitely have to change. That will be less time will be spent in the office. That will
That's why I say, what are the 3 key
result
things?
in
What are the 3 key
less,
things to pay attention to?
less consumption of diesel, access into the property, less expenses on cleaning. What will just go up will be more on sanitary wares and protective men and other people on site.
Okay.
Hello.
So,
Sorry,
I can hear you. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bamidele, I'll just
Yes, sir.
mention. Yeah, I'll just quickly mention that yes, power will be down, but you need to create how you're going to bound. So you need to make assumptions. We currently run power, 18 hours a day because an office environment.
Okay.
Lockdown, we're probably going to, because you need backup. If it's an office, you have servers. People are going to work from home.
Yes.
So you can't shut down the office completely. What you need is to ensure that you run the office 3 to 4 hours every day, maximum of 5 hours, to ensure that your infrastructures are functional, lifts are properly tested, ACs are tested. Because you can't shut down. When you say shut down the office, you can't shut down completely, totally. You still have to continue to check that all the equipment installed in the office are functional. Water pumps are tested on a regular basis. Sewage pumps are tested, because they will pack up by the time you are resuming if you shut down everything. So you need to run them on a regular basis. So you're going to have 60 to 70% of the time not operating, all the infrastructure. So that will have impact on the cost. The second component is you talk about cleaning. So it's generally only O&M costs in operation. So even we want to keep some technicians on site, you may not need to have everybody because they're not going to do any maintenance. However, it can also be a flip. Maybe during the period that some of the maintenance that you have not done for some time because of work, Is there an opportunity for you to do overhauling of generator, to do, overhauling of your plums and systems? So I'm not asking you to tell me what will reduce. I'm saying what will be impacted. And it depends on your plan. What are you doing that will create that impact, either increase or decrease? Cleaning will reduce. You may say, okay, cleaning will reduce, but we want to do gang cleaning. So instead of cleaning every day, every week, we bring the team in, they'll clean the whole office. Since nobody works there, there's no to do daily cleaning any longer, but at least every week they come, clean the office generally, make sure that all surfaces are continuous, because they don't want to leave dust and dirt on the office until another 3 months. So you must have regular, so if not, they will accumulate, then it becomes more difficult for you and more expensive for you to clean when you want to start. The third item is sanitary. Nothing sanitary will go up because nobody's in the office. So your tissues will not be used. There's nobody to use it. So your costs generally we come down in every aspect. Either you're doing intervention cleaning or you're doing intervention maintenance. But you need to identify, the areas that you need to focus, and it has to be tied with your own plan. So there's a lockdown. Everybody's out of office. How do you want to operate the office? Because you have to still operate the office. It's not like going to lock the key and take the key home. And when they call you tomorrow and say, we're resuming, open the office and start running around. No. And so you have to create a plan. So if everybody's out, this is our plan. Every week we'll be in the office. One person will be around continuously, but every week a gang will be around. So you need to create that plan. And that plan now speaks into every other thing that will happen to you. Yeah, thank you. So that's on second question. So is OJ ready to answer his question, or?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir. Okay,
OJ,
so you
morning.
Number one question, you said to plan
Yes.
a budget to manage the space.
Yes.
So the things that need to be in the budget, the services that you need to plan for in the budget are, number one, the cleaning services.
So first, before you start talking about budget, you must create a plan. There's no budget without a plan. So you must say this is the way you want to operate the place. And that will now lead to, you understand? So if you just start up and said, if you just start and said, cleaning will be in the budget, this is, we know they will be in budget, but how do you want to? Because the budget impact is based on the how. Right.
Okay. I thought you were just talking about the budget.
I'm just talking about the budget. I'm talking about the budget. You cannot build a house without a plan, can you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so
yes,
so I'm talking about budget, but you must have a plan to do a budget.
As the FM, you need to have a plan on how you want to go about your FM managing the building or managing the space.
So where is that plan? Tell us the plan. Don't tell us we need to have a plan. We want you to tell us your own plan.
Yeah, like my plan will be, I want to know if I want to do insourcing or outsourcing of my services. And so that will determine what my budget will look like. So if, for example, I want to outsource my services, so in my budget, I will have cleaning services that will be outsourced to other cleaning companies. I will have maintenance of generators. So if I'm concentrating on outsourcing my services. Hello?
I'm listening to you, go on.
Yeah, so I'll have cleaning services in my budget, maintenance of my generators, maintenance of my lifts. My budget will accommodate these services, sewage maintenance, my security service, and my plumbing. This is for if I'm concerned to external vendors.
Okay, thank you, OJ. So first is, when you talk about plan is not only about whether you want to outsource or insource. And either you outsource or insource, you're still going to have a budget. So in terms of budgeting, can you mute your network is poor, so it's doing. So either you outsource or insource, you're going to have a budget. Yes, you need to determine how you want to deliver. But first is on us to create your own plan. This is one of the things I talked about when we're talking about planning. And when I talk about procurement, that you cannot go to market to look for vendors where you don't have your own plan of how you want to do, what you want to do, what are you expecting the vendor to quote for, what services, what level of cleaning, What level of power provision, how do you operate, how many hours the office or your building is going to operate. If you're building a mall, you did not tell us that, it's an office. Those are part of the things you need to first tell us, okay, I'm budgeting for a mall, I'm budgeting for an office, I'm budgeting for a residential building, I'm budgeting for a factory. So the first is to tell us the building you're budgeting for. Second is to tell us how your building operates. It's an office with 200 people, we're tenants or we own the building. So you need to, these are things that will impact your budgeting. Every component of your assumptions. So when someone says do a budget, the person expects to start throwing figures. The person expects to start, from the beginning. What are your assumptions that will lead to your budget? So when I'm reading your budget, I can relate to your budget. I don't want to just have, okay, cleaning is 1 million, generator is 500,000. On what basis? What's the capacity of the generator? What's the number of cleaners? What's the size of the space? What kind of environment is it? An office, is a residence? So when there's a question about an item, you need to ask yourself what precludes the item. So that's what we talk about. For instance, we talk about budget review. We just talk about budget review, and with the same thing, we need to look at what are we reviewing, what is changing. Is it going to shut down fully, or they're going to be partial, or people are going to come? So you need to have that general background to understand, what you are budgeting on. So if you decide to outsource, yes. Even if you decide to adjust, you must have your own budget. You are only marrying the budget of your vendors that you are selecting to your own budget. So your budget will not change in the real sense of it. If you are sourcing and you spend more money, then you don't understand what you want to achieve. So even though you want to achieve quality, but at the same time, you want to ensure that you are still within a budget threshold. So that's important. Thank you. Number 3 question. Adewale, I presume. Yes, Adewale.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, Salami, you are number 4.
Good morning, sir.
So, morning, right.
Good morning. My name is Salami Tauri, sir.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Go for question number 3, sir.
Okay, you're doing number 3.
Yeah, so to resume back after COVID, I think there is a 3 things to be strategized on. I think number 1 should be the security, and number 2, there is HSC, number 3 is communication. So I think the security as number 1. So I need to know the kind of people that will come in so that to know, because there's some things that I need to put in plan, whether I'm using a tag for them to know the people that can enter or not for the visitors. And even said, my client said, and my workers, so if they want to come to work, so that I need to get a good communication with them so that they will know the time they can come to work or not. And the second one, I'm talking about the HSA. So I think I need to improve on the HSC, the HSC area, so that there is another thing that we don't have before, so that we need to implement, so that sometimes we are working on the field, whether there's another work as a mechanical engineer, that we are working without hand glove. So I have to find them hand gloves. Sometimes we're working in a flooded area, so that will get them some rainbow, so that it can help them due to the.
You are responding to question 4 or question?
Yes.
Are you responding to question 4 or question 3?
Question 3.
Okay, so question we talk about O&M plan change.
Come again, sir.
Question 3 says operation and maintenance plan. What is going to change your operation and maintenance plan because of COVID? So question 4 is about regulatory compliance. What are the key regulatory things as a result of COVID that you need to pay attention to? So that's why I'm asking which of the questions you are responding, because the answer you're providing is in between, it tilted towards question 4 rather than question 3.
Oh, it's question 4 because you mentioned something that I can put in plans after the COVID. So whether I put
so that's the regulatory compliance. That's why, and it has to be clear that we say regulatory compliance. So it cannot be based on your own understanding of what you need to do. So first is to understand what are the requirements of regulatory authorities during COVID, post-COVID. So social distancing. In Lagos, more than 20% or 30% of the event centers in Lagos, or even more, have been shut down at one point or the other during this period. because of lack of compliance to regulatory requirements during COVID period. So as FM, you are liable. I attended a wedding event, I think 1st of February or thereabouts in Lagos. And I had to walk out the facility manager from his building. I was in the building. I'd had engagement with the Lagos State Safety Commission, who came in as the event was being, was being arranged. Was my sister's son's wedding, and nephew, and I had engagement with them. Even before they came, I'd already, told the lady was doing the event arrangements to rearrange the chairs to follow social distancing. Because when I got there, all the chairs and tables were still normal, and I said, can't do that. So we started taking 2 chairs and out. So when the safety commission people, they went around, and I said, okay, so far so good. They took out 2 more tables, 2 more chairs from the room, and said, okay, we are fine. And they put their men. When they were waiting, the facility manager came in without a nose mask and walked him out, and he was surprised. I said, you can't enter. This is no more your facility. You have given it to us to use, and the rule is you must obey compliance. Nobody can enter without a mask. He came back with the mask and and apologized. And so if you're a facility manager, you can't find yourself. And that day, they were supposed to use a different venue, which was shut down the night before. They had to find another place. So that's where regulatory compliance is critical for FM, because you can be fired. You can be liable if you're a company. If a company gives you a building to manage, and for whatever reason, they've had events signed up, people have paid them money, only for Lagos Safety Commission to come and shut your building down, they will ask you to pay the money that those people have paid, or whatever penalties they have been fined, because it's your responsibility to ensure the place is safe for people. The place is in line with the requirement of the law. So that's why it's important. You cannot create changes to a building without first understanding what is the requirement. Social distancing. If you are doing an event, what's the distance between 2 people sitting? How many people can we accommodate to church, event centers, mosques, everywhere? Restaurants, bars, a lot of them were shut down. People were arrested, even partying, without following protocol in terms of nose mask. People were fined 50,000 naira every year. I remember they went to an event center, a bar in Ikeja, and took almost 70 or 80 people and arrested them overnight because they were not following the protocol. And there's a manager in that place, there's a facility manager responsible, and then allowed everybody to start doing whatever they like. So you are the one that is liable. So it's important for you to understand what's the requirement, what measures you need to put in place, what controls you need to put in place, to ensure that even if the CEO of the company coming in to the place and is not following protocol, you would gently, you politely tell him, sir, you can't enter this building. This building you need. I organized an event in Ibadan in December last year, and 2 commissioners from your state were trying to enter the venue without nose mask. I walked them out. One of them said I should give him. I said, it's not my job to give you a nose mask. These are government officials coming to a venue that the sign says you must wear nose mask. So you can't say because he's the head of the place, or so you must understand that this is what is required. Cleaning level, what's the level of disinfection, what's the frequency of disinfection if you're doing, do you have hand wash outside, do you have sanitizer, everything has to be. Parking, exit, you find a lot of events, there's no emergency exit in case of emergency. Those are the things that you need to put in place. And so when I said regulatory compliance, and that's why I was very, specific, not just general compliance, I said regulatory, meaning that you can be visited by a regulatory agency and you can be shut down because, excuse me, you did not comply with the requirements. Thank you. So we have one question pending. That is for Adewale, I believe. Is Adewale there? Thank you, Taurid. Is Adewale there? If he's not there, I'm going to call Ajibola Abiola to answer. Okay, Adewale is there. Okay, go ahead.
So, what is going to change in your O&M post-COVID? I think it is, first of all, important for you to review your maintenance plan to align with the new business operation, because COVID has, COVID and business has changed. A lot of things have changed. Demand has changed. The business policies has changed. So you also need to review your plan, your maintenance plan and operation plan to align with it, considering the workforce, the business environment, the schedules, and all of that.
Good. What else we change? Yes, change your plan. What else we change? You also need to pay attention to your employees, because or your suppliers or whoever is going to work for you, because their own safety is also important. So there are two
Yes.
things to ensuring that when you have changes to your environment, to your own O&M, you're also requesting your team, either it's direct or indirect, to not be a carrier. So O&M have changed, have reduced the number of people, but the offices have to function. So maybe you are even doing skeletal work. And so one is also important, which I told OJ. You must also tell us if the building fully shut down before you start reviewing your plan. Because what we have talked about, what I've said generally is generic. You need to specify that, okay, my building is going to operate 20% occupancy during this period. And so it's going to impact the following areas. And we're going to pay attention to the following areas. We're going to, bring forward some maintenance. We're going to reverse some maintenance. We're going to do our deep cleaning. We're going to, that's the way I prefer to understand your understanding of the question. So when I say change the plan, what we change? Yes, all the things you said we change, but how? Or what's the basis of the change? So the basis of the change is to tell us which building you are responsible for and what has changed in your building. What has your client said they're going to be doing during this period? Are they going to shut down 100%? They're going to have skeletal. You're going to have their buildings that are only 2 people, allowed to come at every time, even though they have a 300-seater. Every other person is working from home, but those 2 people also don't come every day. So you need to let us know, or become 20% people are going to be coming, or we're going to shut down completely. We're not coming to the office. We just operate virtually all through. So you need to explain, because everything will not be the same, depending on what has changed, which we must know, that will determine how you have changed your way of providing some support and service to your clients. Thank you to the 4 of you. So if there are other questions, you want to ask before we progress, I have a window of another 5 minutes for questions. I've asked my own question. I've only had one question. So I'm going to call people to ask questions. Okay, Franklin has his hand up.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Morning, Franklin.
Okay.
Morning.
I wanted to say, based on what we're talking about, we may be looking at logistics as well, because when we're talking about logistics, some people may want to come to the office and go back. And is there any arrangement for pick up and drop off, something like that, so that could also be included in terms of operational aspects? Also, for the maybe rotation of a staff. Yes, we know that we're talking about reducing the manpower per day for activities. Now, is it going to be that they close early, or resumption time and closing time also may be impacted, so that we'll know that, okay, anybody that is working that day is going to do a half day, so to speak. Also, we since operations may be the time of period of operations may be low, our power, the diesel consumption and the rest of them, we know that we will not consume that much, and of course it has to be monitored as well. So security will also be there, because if on a normal day I am consuming 200 liters, and this kind of period I'm still consuming 150 liters, then there's also cause for alarm. So close monitoring also will also have to be involved. That's just some few considerations I wanted to make. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Franklin. So I'll just respond to your concern from the last one. Yes? I don't think security, physical security solves the problem of diesel monitoring. In 2021, we cannot be talking about physical security to monitor diesel in the age of technology. When you can sit in your house and get alert whether there's a change in your diesel consumption pattern. So I don't think physical security is a solution to that concern. The concern, the first, is to determine number of hours, and you can predict your diesel pattern. If you know capacity of a generator, your minimum diesel consumption based on load, and how daily power. So you have that in detail. Anytime you have your generator, you have told them generator has to operate only 2 hours. Or you don't even tell them because they do a log. They have to log the generator. There's a public power for 2 hours, and you have to operate for 3 hours. So this generator is operating only 1 hour. So you know what's your pattern of consumption. And if you have a BMS system in your building, that headache is also solved. The BMS can tell you, when there was change in power, when you have public power, and when you have the local power, which is a generator. And from there, you can determine your consumption, which is what your diesel monitoring systems always do. Your diesel monitoring will create a pattern. And so if there's any change in that pattern, it sends you an alert, either SMS, an email, or a notification that, yes, there's a change. Then you can know that either somebody is stealing the diesel or there's a problem with your calibration. That's on diesel. Resumption time is based on the way you want to operate. So you can't have a fixed resume morning and close 12. You can't. It also depends on whether you want to do a full shutdown and work once in a week, or you want to do, people are still working in the office, and you want to have staggered resumption and closing. So all depends on the way your building operates. So there's no, cut and paste rule to resumption. It has to be dependent on how your building, your client wants the building to operate, or your company wants to operate. Your question about logistics is valid to the extent that the people you don't want to worry about pick up and drop for may just be your staff or the staff of your service providers, because mostly you find out that companies have, most of officials in the company have their own cars. When they don't have their car, they have shuttle bus that move them around. Some organizations have requested for, cleaners, technicians, people who work on site to be bussed so that they don't enter public transport and reduce the infection rate, the ability to contact COVID. So they arrange with bus service to ensure that buses well clean at every time and well spaced. So that's also dependent. So it's not going to say you have to arrange logistics for them to move. There are buses moving around, but it has to be determined by what you want to achieve, what you're looking for, what's your objective. So everything that you've talked about is dependent on something else, and that's why I said to all the questions, you must first understand what you want to do before you start creating a plan to do it. Thank you, Franklin. Any other questions? Anybody else raising hand? Nobody's raising hand. Sheyi, do you have any question? Taiwo, do you have any question? Tokwe, do you have any question?
Good morning, sir.
Say good morning. So Sheyi, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The diesel consumption monitoring. Yes, it is a fantastic way to ensure or monitor diesel consumption. But in my opinion, it might be expensive to deploy and maintain. But if we're managing facilities with very tight budgets or even no budget, we might have to start maybe doubling responsibilities, maybe security guards are having to monitor the diesel levels from time to time and things like that. Or what's your take regarding that, sir?
I don't agree that it's expensive. Your statement is subjective. You have to first understand what you want to achieve. So if you are losing 1,000 liters per week on diesel because of diesel monitoring, physical monitoring of diesel doesn't solve your problem. Who says the security guy is not colluding to steal diesel? Who says he's not even the one stealing the diesel? Or he's colluding with the supplier, and instead of supplying you 20,000 liters, they're supplying you 15,000 liters for the last 3 years. I've come across more than 20 times situations where either it's the security guard or the diesel supplier or the technician or the three of them together are colluding to siphon you. We've taken over a building in Lekki about 5 years, 6 years ago, where for 3 years before our arrival, because what we always do when we take over a building, we do calibration of the tank. What's the capacity, actual capacity of the tank? And we discovered that the tank was 3,000 less than what was being claimed. And for 3 years prior to that, they were charging them 3,000 extra liters every month. And someone was signing and collecting the money. So you cannot say that it's expensive. So that's not facility manager's language. First is to analyze, is to say, okay, how much am I going to? Because every time I always tell FMs, you must have at the back of your mind what's called cost benefit analysis. You cannot throw away a cost because you assume it's high. You must do a CBA for it. It's your CBA that will tell you whether it's reasonable or not. If you are losing 1,000 liters every week, at the end of the year, 52 weeks, you're going to have lost 52,000 liters with 240 naira per liter. That is how much in cost. That's almost like 2 million naira. How much is the cost of installing?
10 million naira.
Oh yeah, 10 million. How much is the cost of installing a diesel monitoring system? I'm not sure you spent 2 million.
True, sir.
So you're already
True,
saving
sir.
8 million. You're already saving 8 million because you're going to take the cost away from what you're saving.
Very true, sir.
Yeah, so we need to have that to say, don't throw any idea off. First, do the analysis. So somebody was asking me 2 weeks ago about energy savings. What kind of system you need to do. First, to understand how much you're currently spending and where are those costs going. Are they going on lights? Are they going on cooling? Because you need to break down your costs. You need to understand how your cost is being consumed in a facility before you start determining what to change to save costs, to improve efficiency. You can assume it's staff, whereas it's your AC or it's your lift. You have to analyze every component of your building and understand the impact on your O&M and your O&M budget before you start determining what to change, what to rearrange, what to improve. And if you don't do that, you just assume that, okay, if I tweak this, it will give me this. Or no, it may not. And every time, and for information, and this is factual, you cannot go to your company or to a client and say, I want to spend extra naira to improve the building. They will ask you, how do you want to pay back? Ask your CBA. Or where do you want to get the money from? We done a bid for a client. When we did the analysis, we did a month and a half in the building just to understand the building before we tendered. And we saw areas of improvement and opportunity to improve. And we did a three-stage plan, immediate, that has no need for discussion. Things we can change and reduce. For instance, we reduce the number of cleaners because within the period we tested it. We did not just go to clients and said, okay, let's reduce the number of cleaners, we'll be fine. No, within the 6 weeks period, we tested. We reduced number for 2-3 days to see how effective the plan is going to work. And it worked. We reduced the number of tissue and it worked. And so we went back to the client and said, from tomorrow, we want to reduce the number of cleaners to so number. And they said, fine. And we saved them more than 25 cleaners at a go without waiting for any long process because we tested it, it worked, and they were convinced that yes. We look at power, for instance, electrical building, they were changing, the volume of bulb change was such that the total amount they are spending to replace bulb, not just the consumption now. So at times when we talk about change energy consumption, we talk about only on the cost of generating the energy. What of the maintenance components? So they were replacing almost 30% to 40% of the bulbs in the building on a monthly basis. And we did the analysis and we showed them the figure. We actually even asked the clients, don't give us money. Continue to pay this amount that you're paying for both energy and maintenance for the next 6 months to 1 year. We'll return the balance to you at the end of the day. We're going to use our money to install all the changes we want to install. Even though they didn't accept our proposal, but eventually they did the same thing we told them to do and save them money. The same thing with generator. We look at the generator configuration. So you must first understand. You cannot propose a solution that you don't understand and you have not tested, and you don't have a CBA on. It's very important for you as a facility manager.
Okay,
and don't be afraid to make a change, but don't make a change without a thorough analysis, so that you don't look stupid at the end of the day.
Very true, sir. Very true, sir.
This is very important. for you to understand. So, and every component in your building, you can relook at them, you can understand the way they operate, you can understand their consumption pattern or energy or whatever it is, or if it is even floor. You can look at your floor, several years ago and look at our building and look at the amount of money we're spending on cleaning. And basically because we were having more people go into the building that they don't need to go into the building. And we did redesign the visitor management system to ensure that less than 10% of people that visit the building go into the building. Every other person can be attended to at the ground floor. And it reduces our cleaning costs. Reduces our cleaning costs. So it is understanding. If you don't understand some of these situations, you will not be able to create a plan to address them. So you understand that you find what is impacting it, what is driving it, what is the reason why this is like this. Then if I tweak this, will it change? If I change that, will it improve? And you can now do a proposal. And you have to always don't be quick to submit a proposal, first without testing, second without doing a CBA. Because the guys you're going to present a proposal to they're going to ask you questions that you must be ready to answer. Not that let me come back to you. Nobody wants to hear, let me come back to you.
True.
Because they will not listen to you the second time. They'll tell you don't
Very
understand
true,
what
sir.
you're
Very
Thank
true.
you.
But sorry, sir, can I
Right.
ask an adjoining question? What is the CBA to entail, sir?
Cost benefit analysis.
Yes, what is it to entail?
So
Maybe reason for.
So let me give you a typical example. You look at your power consumption. You have done your load analysis. You have a 500 kVA generator in your building, and I give you example one now, the one on replacement costs for fittings. So you can use that.
Yes, sir.
So you have fittings and you're doing an analysis and discover that you are replacing 30% of your fittings every month because of burnout. Apart from the cost of powering them. So you have those two elements. What's the total cost? How much? So I gave the example of your diesel, which two of us I just worked with, I think it was Franklin that I worked with. And I said, you are losing 1,000 liters every month because you can't account for 1,000 liters. And over a year, that's 52,000 liters. How much does that come to in Naira and Kobo? How much is the cost of setting up a diesel management system? So that's your CBA. So I'm going to save if I put apart from that, I'm going to reduce the cost of your security. Because if I say, let's put a security guard in charge of diesel maintenance, that's his job. And two people will be doing shifts. The only thing they do is to monitor diesel and monitor generator. So why do you need human being when you can use technology? So you save two staff and you save the diesel consumption that is not stolen because now you can monitor real time. Even when somebody is dropping diesel in your tank, you will see as it's going up, and if the amount of diesel you expected is not delivered, you can generate a report and take to the supplier and say, sorry, you did not deliver correct. And ensure. So that is your CBA. So you are saying, I want to invest so much money, and this is the reason why, or this is how much I'm going to get back, or this is what I'm going to pay back. So it can be based on I will save. It can be based on I will pay back. It can be based on I will use the money generated from these savings to pay for my investments. The of them is dependent on what you're doing. And that's your CBA. It's called cost benefit analysis, cost versus benefit.
Yes,
so
sir.
I want to spend 2 million to do a diesel monitoring system. I'm going to benefit 1,000 liters or 500 liters every month savings or every week savings due to theft and privilege. And I'm going to save 2 security guards. So 500 liters or 1,000 gives me whatever value. 2 security guards in a year gives me whatever value. So if I spend 2 million, I will be saving 20 million. So the same thing with generator. You have a generator that is over capacity. So your generator maintenance will increase because it's not going to be operating at optimal level, and your diesel consumption will increase. So you can determine the cost for those 2 items and show that if I replace this generator with a lower capacity generator at so much, and I sell this generator for so much value and save these 2 components, this is the benefit to the business. You can say that if I want to buy a 17 million naira generator and I want to sell this generator for 3 million or 4 million, that's already 30 million remaining, and I'm going to save on diesel. In 6 months, I will have saved 10 million on diesel. I'm going to save another 3 million on maintenance. So by 7th month, I've already paid back the 17 million to buy a new generator.
Yes.
So you understand? So that's the way CBA works. CBA works either cost savings, payback, or investment. So you're getting money to invest. You are replacing an item so that you can invest the money. And these are things that are practical. They are not things that are theoretical. Same thing with your AC. So you take over a building, all the ACs are not protected. You look at the maintenance history, they are replacing compressor almost regularly, and you ask yourself, compressor is not supposed to go bad. Let's put a protection. How much is the cost of a protection? 5,000 per AC. How much are you going to save? One compressor every 6 months times the number of ACs. That's the value you're saving. And what you are spending is 5,000 per AC. You have 100 ACs. That is, 50,000 naira or 500,000 naira, whatever the case may be. That's what you're investing to save total number you're going to be, saving from the business. So that's what CBA is.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir.
You're welcome. Any other question from anybody else? Okay, so I've used the time of answering question to make some general comments about what we should do, what we should work. For facility managers, it's very critical for you to understand your building. And I always quote this religious verse, both Christian and Muslim. You cannot worship God if you don't understand God. And understanding God is not just reading Bible or Quran. It's to understand that what does God expect me to do as a being. So it's the same thing. What are you expected to do in a building? What is the building? What's your client's expectation? Do I understand the building? What are the services in the building? What is their current state? What level? And they want me to take it to this level. What is the gap? How do I, close that gap? What kind of resourcing? What kind of systems do I need to put in place? What kind of technology do I need to deploy? What are the things that I need to do to ensure I can move from level to the level that is expected or even beyond? What do I need to understand? What knowledge do I require? Do I have them? If I don't have, where can I get? And there's no harm in talking to people. There's no harm in interacting. Where you think you're challenged about the situation in your building, call your colleague. I did that several years ago when I was managing UBA. I went around buildings, understand how others manage their building, so that I can take a lesson, learning from there to change the way my building operates, and it worked. So you look for similar buildings and look for the managers, and I can assure you, either you know them or you don't know them, approach them, they will respond to you. Nobody's going to shut you down when you're looking for knowledge. So you're able to put a plan in place, and on a regular basis, you are reviewing your plan. There are changes that need to be made. You are following through the changes. You are reviewing your budget. You must understand budgeting, very critical. You must understand budget management and budget control. Don't wait for your management or your clients to come back to you to say, okay, go and reduce 20%, go and reduce 30%, and you start struggling. You must understand your elastic limit in your budget. What's the minimum? What's the maximum? What's the minimum I can reduce to? What's the maximum I can go in terms of budgeting? You must understand basic principle between your major equipment, your lifts, how does it work? What's the maintenance requirements? Your power system, your generators, your inverters, your UPSs, your water system, your sewage, just general understanding of how they work, what's the maintenance requirement, what's the frequency, so that when you're talking to a client, your vendor or a supplier who wants to provide this service, you're not looking blind. You're not telling you it's hey, and you're saying, okay, fine, hey. Whereas it's B instead of A, and it's costing you pain, it's costing you more money and less value. So you must have an understanding so that you can have proper interaction and discussion. You do the same thing with your team. You send somebody out to go and check something, the person comes back and tell you, okay, this is what is wrong. You must have an understanding. Why can it be wrong? How should it be wrong? Why can't it be this? So if you don't have understanding, you'll be able to ask me all the whys, all the 5 ifs, until you get an answer, all the 5 whys, until you get an answer. I used to share this experience. ABC Transport. Frank Neji, I was in his office as a student of the university in my year 3. I went to have a meeting with him. I wanted to, honor him at that time in my university in Owerri. And I sat in his office. He was talking to a driver on the road who had complained of a breakdown. And the way he responded to the driver, I was amused and I was excited and I smiled. So when he finished his call, he turned to me and said, "Okay, why were you smiling?" And I said, I'm so excited the way I'm an engineering student, mechanical, I understand vehicles to a level. As a businessman, the way you handle the questions tells me that you understand your vehicles. I say, yeah, why not? He doesn't want any driver to call him in the middle of the road and tell him one thing is bad. He needs so much and he cannot understand what he's talking about. So it's the same thing. For facility manager, your plumbing tech, your AC technician, your generator can come and tell you, okay, generator is leaking oil, generator belt is cut. You say, okay, go ahead. How much do we need? You just tell him. You must sure understand. If you tell him, go ahead, you are telling him that you don't know anything. He can cheat you, he can mess you around, you can do whatever he likes to do. And so you must have a general understanding. And it also helps you to talk to your client or to talk to your principal. You must be able to, be factual, must be data driven as a facility manager. You can't go to a client or a manager and talk about an issue without having data and facts. Backing up, okay, for the past 3 years, this is how much we've been spending on this equipment. This is what it's costing us. This is the we're having. We're not getting this kind of value. Our checks, our measurement have showed that we're only getting 20% value. So the person is going to pay more attention. We're going to turn his head and say, oh, okay, interesting. That's what you want to hear. But if you go to you and say, okay, sir, we need to spend 2 million naira to fix this. I say, why? The thing is 40. Why should it be 40? How has it been 40? What have we been spending? Those are the questions I'm going to ask you. You start looking, okay, I'll come back to you. You will never come back. They will just walk you away from the building and ask you to go home. And I've seen that happen several times in this market with facility managers, being sent off their job because they show complete lack of understanding of what they're doing. And it's important for us to. And this day and age, knowledge is key for FMs. Knowledge outside there on the internet. Attend as many webinars as you can, as many sessions. Learn as much as you can learn. No knowledge is lost. You may not require them today, you may require them tomorrow, but there's huge body of knowledge out there for you to understand FM. FM is changing every day. FM is like technology. Buildings are changing, requirements in the buildings are changing. So many things are changing today. In the world of buildings that we manage, that's FMs that we need to understand how to respond to them. And if you don't understand what is changing, we can't create a plan to respond to them. And how it impacts the people. From the new definition of FM is not just about maintenance. FM is take care of the business and take care of the people who operate in the building. And so it's important for us that whatever we're doing, we have that general understanding that our role is three in one. We're managing the building to ensure that the building delivers the value to the organization, and also a safe work environment for the people who live and work there. Thank you very much. That is how much and how far I'm going to go this morning. So for exam, we're just going to do exam. We're not going to do. Initially I wanted to give you a term paper to do, but that may complicate your timeline since you don't have time. So we're just going to do exam, and the exam is going to be in 2 parts. That will be general knowledge, just to test your general understanding of the FM knowledge. And it's always compulsory question, and that's the same thing we did last year. The second part will be optional. We'll probably take 3 questions and ask you to answer 2, and which some of them are things we discussed in this class. Some of them I'm sure you're going to be able to answer without anything. As I've said, when a question is asked, you must first ask yourself, what do I need to answer this question? Does the question have all the prerequisites to answer it, or I need to make some assumptions before answering the question? If those assumptions are not in the question, you need to show your assumptions. So for instance, just like the question about budget, you must state your assumptions before you do budget. So if you just do a budget without an assumption, you're going to score 0, absolutely. If I ask for a plan and the assumptions, I did not state the situation of the plan. I did not give you the details of the building or the assets you're planning for. You can also go ahead and start doing a plan. You must state your assumptions. So it's important to understand that your question is just one part. The second part of it is to understand what is required to answer that question. If what is required to answer the question is not in the question, then you need to make those assumptions. And it's the basis of the assumption that will lead to, the person who is marking your script or who is listening to you understand that, yes, you understand what you're doing, because the questions are just going to test your knowledge, practical knowledge of managing buildings, basically. And there's not going to be, the only theory part will be general knowledge questions, which is part 1. But part 2 is going to be practical, situational based questions. So you must be able to prepare your mind for, and there's nothing, it's not going to be out of place. It's not going to be anything out of whack. It's going to be typical, building management scenario, and ask you questions on how to deal with it. Thank you. I hope we are fine. If anybody still has any question, I can spare another 2 minutes. If not, okay, Folorunso has his hand or her hands up.
Okay, good morning,
Folorunso,
sir.
go on.
Yes,
Go
sir.
on, Folorunso.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I have to take you back. I want some clarification. During your illustration, in one of the questions, you made mention that there's a facility that 25 cleaners has to be, we have 20, yes, we have to remove 25 cleaners from site.
We had 115 cleaners as at the time we were
okay, 115. Okay, so we have 115 cleaners as at then, and 25 cleaners has to stop so that because of the cost benefit.
No, it's not because of cost. So that's what I'm saying. So situations are different. So when you want to drive efficiency, and this is very important for facility managers, part of the challenge that I've seen with a lot of people is that somebody gives you a building to manage. You just want to throw people there without first understanding what would these people be doing? How many hours do they have? So typically for me, the way I do cleaning resourcing is that I first ask myself, how many hours a day do I require to clean this place? So for instance, if I need 6 hours a day to clean a building, just for analysis sake, and the building is 2,000 square meters. If I've just looked at the building from 2,000 square meter point of view, I will say, okay, I need 2 cleaners. Abi? But having analyzed that I only need 6 hours cleaning time a day, it will change the way I'm going to resource the building. So I may use 2 cleaners, but I may not use them as full time in the building, or charge the client for the 2 cleaners full, because they don't need to be in the building for 14 hours. Every cleaner has minimum of 7 hours of work.
How much is everything?
Mr. Haruji, can you please mute? So it will determine how I'm going to deploy resources. So I probably say, okay, 3 hours a day, 2 of you will work in this building 3 hours a day. The remaining 4 hours you have, you will use it in another building. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily only about cost, it's about efficiency. Efficiency leads to cost eventually. But what you are showing is that, so you get a building and you say, okay, you need 2 technicians, 1 plumber, 1 electrician, or 1 AC, 1 electrician. So why do you need 2? If 1 person, an handyman can do both jobs. And when you have intervention, you can support, from outside, because you also have to look at efficiency. One of the key things for employee deployment and use is that you want to ensure that your employees does not have too much free time to do other things within the space where they have been allocated. So if you have cleaners and they only do 3 hours of work a day, because they are plenty. So the remaining 4 hours, they also sell recharge card, they also buying food for people, they also start doing things that are not related to cleaning, which may also affect your work at the end of the day. Or you have technicians, you have 2 people and they're not doing anything, they're just sleeping around. They will get tired. If there are people who are very knowledgeable, who feel challenged, they will resign from your job and go and look for a job that will challenge them and give them more money. So these are things that you need to consider when it comes to resources. So when I talked about that situation, it wasn't because we wanted to save costs. It was because we wanted to create efficient cleaning environment. So one of the things I've done for some clients is look at the way building is managed, and I look at technology. For instance, we did one of our buildings several years ago based on 2 things. One, there was a complaint from the client about swimming pool, about the slippery floor of the pool. It's a massive pool. I think the 3rd biggest pool in Lagos is in a residential estate. And every time we need to clean the underground effectively, we need to drain the pool. And it's about 12 tankers of water. That's 120,000 liters. And if you multiply that by an average of 10,000 naira, that's already 120,000 naira every time you want to clean the pool. So if you have to clean the pool twice say maybe once every 2 months, just for analysis sake, that's 6 times. 6 times 120. You're already going to spend about 720,000 naira, to clean the pool a year. So I decided to buy a robot, an underground swimming pool cleaning robot. Even when people are swimming, the robot can still be working and is unaided. It doesn't need anybody to, other than you put it there, the guy controls himself and goes and back and cleans. And it was costing about 400,000. So I'm already in 1 year, I'm already saving over 320,000. So that's cost benefit. Even though I'm delivering value to the client who is complaining, causing him pain because I need to clean the underground on the tile of the pool because she has complained that the pool is slippery. So you need to understand what you're intervening on. Are you changing the way you operate to ensure you improve efficiency and quality service, or this is based on a concern that you have identified yourself, or this is a complaint from the client, and you find resourcing to deploy. So, for instance, cleaning machines can reduce the number of cleaners. When I was at the airport, I brought in a chemical from Dubai during one of the expos, FM expos that I attended, and I did a 1 month trial, and it reduces the number of cleaners that I need to work by 2 from a particular location because of its effective cleaning. You remember where you are doing deep cleaning with your hand and brush, you put the chemical and it strips the place. So the place you can clean in normally before in 6 hours, the chemical will allow you to clean it in 1 hour. So you don't need too many people to do the work. So these are part of the things that you need to think about as FM. We're planning to introduce robot mower in the market in Nigeria. And what it means is that you're going to reduce the number of gardeners per space. If there's a large space and you have 4, 5, 6 gardeners, you can take out 2 people and use the robot to do the work. Well, actually 3 people. And the 2 other people will just monitor it and set up. We've introduced a robot cleaner. We have a client where their top floor, the executive floor is rug and is at the beginning of the lift lobby through the general area. And every 1 hour, somebody has to go and clean. Then we'll put a robot there and reduce that time. And this was like 7 years ago or more. And the robot just goes and docks every 1 hour. It's programmed every 1 hour. It goes around without disturbing anybody, cleans the floor, goes back to the docking station and charge. After 1 hour again, it goes. And we save that headache of one person every 1 hour carrying sweeper and packer, or using a vacuum and disturb everybody within the building with the noise of the vacuum. So these are things that you need to do as FM. So it's not necessary that everything has to be cost saving. Yes, it will lead to a cost eventually, maybe efficiency, maybe change of model, maybe change of process, maybe solving a problem that will lead to what you want to do. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Folanshaw.
Yes, sir. My curiosity were just, I want to confirm before, but you've been able to answer them that was there over equipment for the services before? Then even if 25 cleaners were reduced, will there not be fatigue on the remaining one? Then will there not be a reduction of performance on the remaining one? But you've been able to explain and I've been able to get
that after that 25 reduction, we have still in that building since 2015 with the same reduction. We've not had any issues. And the people that were there before were there for like 5 years with the 115 people. Because nobody has paid attention. Because as I said, the way we look at cleaning is resource, what you want to do versus resource required. So it's not just deploy people. So we did our analysis, and I will always test. That's why I said we did a test and saw that yes, it was effective. There was no fatigue. There are enough machines, there are enough people. They were not stressed up. They still had extra 1 hour apart from their break. I said every employee has 8 hours. Out of 8 hours, 1 hour break, so 7 hours. But it doesn't mean that you should drive them to the 7 hours. So 6 hours of work every day is enough. Anytime you cannot utilize an employee for 6 hours is a waste of that employee's time and a waste of your own money. And so that's the way we do. We look at it and said, okay, what resources do you require? If this is a place you want to clean, and how long is it going to take you to clean it using appropriate equipment? So where do you need to put 3 people when you can put 1? Or why do you need to put 2 people 8 hours a day, where you can put 2 people doing 3 hours a day?
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Nobody else is raising hand. Okay, I wish you guys all the best. See you in the market because we may not have time to see again in class. Wish you all the best in your exams, and we'll share this recording with you in case you want to, to look at it and take some lessons from it. Thanks to all the people that have answered questions and asked questions. Bye-bye. See you at the exam. I'm sure the exam is going to be virtual, so it's not going to be physical. So I don't know how the school is going to organize. I've not been informed the process of the exam, but whatever the method, I wish you all the best in the exam. Do have an enjoyable rest of your weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.